What's going on, all you podcast groupies out there? I am Snickers. This is Meat Snack. This is the Snick Snack Sports Fantasy Football Podcast. How you doing today, Nate?
It only gets worse and worse, Nick. I was 2-6 last week. The hope was there. I'm 2-7. There remains a shred of hope, but the season maybe was the one that wasn't meant to be.
Feel like the Oakland Raiders over there, don't you?
I sure do. And every week I'm never the worst. It always gives me a little hope. My team's still good. We can get out there. I sent around some trades this week. I'm just going to preview. I sent a little bit of a desperation trade offer to our own Kyle Gaudet. I said, I'll send you all my starters for all of your starters. He said no. I think that might have been my last hope. Hoping that maybe the Josh Allen potential injury would convince him that my team was ascendant, but nope.
No, he loves Josh Allen like a son over there, so I don't know if he's ever going to give him up.
I need to win every game this year, and I may make the playoffs if I do so. So we will see. You're in a little bit of dire straits too. I understand.
I am, but Jonathan Taylor, is back, so that will lead my team to victory. Him and Ken Walker. So
as we'll see, you don't believe much in him, but we have another great show for you today. We have our commissioner, Matt Berluti, back on the show. We have the recap. We have the preview. And we have Caitlin's hot takes. So let's jump right in. All right, Nick, why don't you tell us about our matchup or our bet this week?
Yeah, our bet this week. I know I am really hoping Jonathan Taylor does well, but I'm not sure with the new coach and everything. Our bet this week revolves around him being a top 16 running back. 16 and up, Nate is going to win the bet. 17 down, I am going to win the bet. I'm hoping he gets like a nice 17. It's a big week for running backs overall, and that we get the double win there, double dip.
Yeah, kind of hedging. I see that you want your team to do well, but you don't want to go all in on Johnny Taylor. And last week, you're on a bit of a roll here, 2 in a row. I had taken Katie's DJ Moore to your T. Higgins, or vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah. Bet against my team. It's giving to me the money here, so.
That's right. And T. Higgins vastly outscored DJ Moore. T. Higgins scored about 14 points to DJ Moore is about 3. So he did not get on fire, or maybe he was on fire, but it came to an end. So you have 3 wins to my 5. I'm still in the lead, but you're catching up.
Yeah, can't call it a comeback.
And so now let's jump into the recap for this week. Let's see here. So taking a look at the standings, we can see that Katie has actually taken the lead, despite all of my insistence that her team is bad, which I still believe. She is now in first place at 7-2, tied with her cousin Kyler at 7-2. We have a bunch of teams that are seemingly locked into the playoffs. We have Kyle at 6-3. We have Shane at 6-3, Matt at 6-3. And then Kenny is kind of slipping actually at this point. And we see that the Olive Man Ducky is vying to take his spot and could do so this weekend if they were to have a opposite results here. And then there's a huge drop off in percentage chance at that point, with ESPN basically giving up on all the rest of us. We all need to win out to make the playoffs, more or less. A very divided year this year, Nick.
It is. I mean, it's kind of strange to look at the bottom couple names there. Obviously, I've won a couple of times. You've gotten first and you've gotten a second. Nick Adams has gotten the first and a second. John's gotten the second before. It's weird to see us all down there right now.
Yeah, and I mean there is some division. I have to point out, like I do every week, that when we sort by points scored, I am in 6th place, which is not outstanding by any means, but it is a playoff spot. So still feeling a little bit unlucky this year. Now you have the second most points against, we can see. So there's a little bit of bad luck on both sides. Not that it's not all our fault, or not that our fault isn't involved, but unlucky. Now, what is impressive is that Fufu Cuddly Poops, Kyle, I always mix those names up, has the most points against and is nonetheless thriving So just goes to show how strong his team is this year. Now, if we dig into last week's matchups, we see I was playing against Shane, lost again in a painful one against who I consider to be my arch rival. And despite what this looks like, the game was actually close up until relatively the end. Going into the weekend, I had 103, or going into Monday, I should say. I had 103. He had 83, and I needed the combination of Kenyon Drake and the Ravens to score less than 20 points. That doesn't quite add up. Maybe he had 93. Neither score less than 10 points, which I thought was possible. And they ended up scoring 35 points. So, oh well. Did not work.
Well, we'll get into my matchup too, but I was right with you. I was hoping that Lamar would get all the touchdowns, and Kenny Drake ended up stealing 2 of them. So it kind of hurt us both.
Yeah, and what killed me, apart from that matchup, just the Ravens kind of doing this weird thing where the players who didn't expect scored, was that me and Shane were both of our tight ends on bye. We both bid $3 for Evan Ingram. I had priority. I got him. Evan Ingram injures his back in the first quarter, gets 1.3 points. He settles for Cole Kmet, who gets 20 points, 2 touchdowns. His best finish on the season was like 6 points earlier. So unbelievable luck on the part of Shane. And he pulls out another one.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, obviously his whole team was pretty decimated there, and your team is honestly not looking like too bad, but looking a little old at the moment. Obviously, you've replaced Evan Ingram already, but yeah, I mean, fingers crossed you can get another win back in the plus column, and Shane can get a loss. He hasn't lost in a while, so
yeah, he's on a roll, and at this point, he wins one more, he's probably in. I think 7 wins pretty much do it for you in this league. If you have good points for, which he does. Now we had a very close one between mid-tier Nick and Matt Berluti, brother-in-law matchup that we highlighted. It was the worst matchup of the week, but yet the most exciting.
Yeah, this was a crazy one. I think it was Matt that had the score locked in for Monday's game, and Nick came in and just couldn't get it done.
Couldn't
Really
get
close.
it done is who is he have it play on Monday night here? I guess
Must have been Sunday night with Travis Kelce and Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, Clyde was the one who destroyed him. 2.4 points. Clyde has been falling apart recently.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a starting running back anymore, and the Chiefs only ran the ball like, what, 7 times on Sunday night, so.
Yeah, it wasn't like Isaiah Pacheco outscored him. He got 1.4 points on Matt's team.
Yeah.
That was just a wash. Matt's team looks so bad, and he did not deserve this win. Cooper Kupp scored 25 points. Everyone else was not really worth a start. Tyler Algier, I guess, somehow still eking out something. And very meanly, Cam Akers get like 1 carry for 3 yards or something here.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were still playing him. But yeah, rough. I mean, this was a Bipocalypse week, so the score should be lower. Now, that did not affect the Olive Man, who took down the who was in first place at the time, Kyler. He continues to be on just a rabid pace. I think he scored like 150, like 3 of the 4 last weeks, it feels like.
Yeah, no, he's getting lucky. I mean, he had the quarterback carousel all year. He had Justin Fields and Simone say 2 or 3 times already, but he finally got that breakout game, 173 yards rushing, single game quarterback rushing record there, stole from Mike Vick. That was very, very impressive from him. And obviously, the pass defense against the Colts shut him out. Justin Jefferson did his job, and the rest of his team, kind of held their own.
Yeah. Yeah, Justin Fields finally figured it out. They finally started playing him to his strengths. And I would have thought just from the earlier time slots that he was really regretting his trade away of Travis Etienne, who scores nearly 30 points. He's in absolutely a roll too, but didn't matter. Wins by 50 points, so no big deal. And I think he's pretty happy with the way Justin Jefferson's performing in that trade.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler's team honestly isn't looking super great. I mean, he obviously has a couple guys in by. Travis Etienne's doing well. Josh Jacobs is surprising. Everyone's still doing well, but the rest of his team's not looking super powerful.
Yeah, he is Hollywood on the IR. I don't remember exactly when he's supposed to come back. Joe Burrow can break out oftentimes. This team has never looked all that intimidating to me, but he's just been consistent. Then we have the last and second to last place teams. Well, my team's in second to last now, but Carson pulls out another one, so I'm tied with the last place for him now. 107 is a good showing for him, especially with the way his team has been looking of late.
You saw him, Joe Mixon scoring 56 out of those 107 points. So it was just a right play at the right time there. The rest of his team did not do much.
No, pulling a regular Snickers here where one player scores half his points. That hasn't happened for you in a while. Yeah, John's team I wouldn't be surprised if John's team ends up in last place. Just not that he even drafted poorly here, but just a lot of these picks are not paying off. Cordarrelle's back. He neglected to put him in. He does have Josh Palmer, so there's a shred of hope, but I think Carson might have the upper hand in terms of who's going to win the distinction of not last.
Yeah.
And what happened in your matchup?
Yeah, I mean, this was a good one. I mean, going after Sunday night, Pat Mahomes did his thing, scored a lot of points. So I needed Lamar to score about, I think I needed just under 30 points from him. And I'm like, I mean, it's not guaranteed he does that, but he's been able to pull rabbits out of his hat before. If he got all the passing touchdowns instead of getting some rushing ones off to Kenyon Drake there, I think we might be talking about a different story there.
That would have made all the difference. And now I think what we just have found is that Lamar does not get it done on Monday nights, at least not of late. Back in his breakout year, I do remember him pulling through some big Mondays for me, but that year was unmatched.
Yeah, I mean, MVP.
Yeah, I think what I'm noticing is that just a lot of players are slumping right now. Like Mike Evans for you hasn't been doing much. Khalil Herbert hasn't come through on his promises. And you're not, I mean, Jonathan Taylor hopefully is coming back for you this week. Brennan Cooks decided to play. So now is this the week that Rondale finally makes it into your lineup?
There's a good chance on that. It's going to be him or Alan Lazard. It looks like probably. But what really hurt is Katie's kicker, Nick Folk, on our New England Patriots, taking me out again. So
it's insane. She's the kicker person, obviously, so she would know when a player is about to break out. But he has been scoring some huge scores for a kicker. He must be in first place.
Yeah, Pat scored 26 points, only one touchdown. So,
man, Indianapolis is so bad. I'm not surprised. And then Kyle gets right again, 6-3 now. I think last week we were actually presenting these teams as Kenny was ascending and Kyle was falling, and clearly the opposite is actually happening.
Yeah.
I don't know what we were talking about. I mean, I look at the teams. I don't hate them, either of them. I do think that Kenny has a chance to stay in it if some of these players turn it around. Deshaun Watson is coming back soon, right?
Week 11, he's coming back against his former team, Houston Texans. That's not fixed or anything.
Yeah, so that might save his team. Greg Dulcich is what everyone's talking about. Although he has Mark Andrews, he's going to play Mark Andrews. So, never mind. Yeah, I think both these teams are contenders. It really is a question to me of who is Ducky going to take out. He's going to take out someone. And right now, Kenny is the most vulnerable, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But that was our matchups. Anything else to add here, Nick?
No, I mean, I do like Kyle's team. I think probably the best out of just about anyone's here. His team's looking pretty solid overall, despite the two tight ends.
Yeah, he very reasonably would not want to trade his team for my team. I can't blame him for that, even though, because I think he scored about 200 points more than me on the year. I will say that when I put the trade through SPN, they called it a fair trade.
So yeah, you got the rankings and everything.
Yeah, I felt pretty validated that ESPN had that kind of faith in my team. Now tell us about the news.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happened this week. Obviously, I'll start with a couple possible injuries here. Romeo Dobbs looks like he's out for a few weeks. Cordarrelle Patterson's back, doing well. Elijah Mitchell's back. going to start this week. Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller on the Las Vegas Raiders are both put on IR this afternoon. So that's a big hit for a team that's already not going in the right direction. There was a big hire in Indianapolis this week where Frank Reich, the leader of the team that had the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, fired from Indianapolis after his offensive prowess did not show off. They hired former center Jeff Saturday, who'd been recently working at the ESPN analyst. And fun fact this week, he's going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. He has Devontae Adams on his fantasy team. Presumably he's going to pass that off to somebody else, so there's no conflict of interest there. But it'd be very, very funny if he starts putting his fourth string cornerback on Devontae Adams all game. Remember, bye weeks this week: Patriots, Jets, Bengals, and Ravens.
Yes, indeed. And that's Indianapolis has really got some people talking, just because it seems like this is the most overt tanking that we've seen in a while since, besides when the Dolphins were doing it. And I guess that was official kind of. But what are they doing over there? Fans cannot be happy. But just in a moment now, we'll have our guest on the show, but let's dig into the look at the week ahead. All right. Before we welcome our guest onto the show, we just have a quick word from today's sponsor. Listen in.
This is a public service announcement. We are here this evening to warn you of a dangerous man. He has many alibis, including Tozilla, Flapreds, the Socialized Medicine Man, Mr. Return Yo Girl, and the Horny Penguin. You may know him as Nathaniel Soames. Now, even though this man has committed the most heinous of crimes, we are unable to do anything due to the diplomatic immunity granted to him by, you guessed it, the Dutch. He is about yay high, a medium build, with dirty blonde hair. That is also how I would describe his personality. If you see him, please find your nearest shelter and do not leave until the sulfur smell goes away. During these trying times, we wish you all a good night and good luck.
Well, there you have it. We can't help who pays for our bills. So thank you to that PSA for keeping everyone safe and keeping the lights on here at our studios.
And thank you for your sulfur shower you have in your apartment.
Now we just have one moment, and Matt, our commissioner, will be joining us. Please welcome Matt to the show. All right, Matt, what's going on?
Snickers, flatbreads. How we doing?
Doing well.
I didn't realize that flatbreads was my new official nickname. I was just trying to correct everyone who was erroneously assuming that flatbread, singular, could be used grammatically at all, which we all know is not the case. But I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us, Matt. The first thing that I think a lot of our fans want to know is, do you feel threatened by John in the race for commissioner this year? And how did you convince him to run an ad against himself?
One, I was not aware there's a controversy. Two, if someone else wants to herd all of you cats, more than willing to turn it over. But you can have it. Uncontested, you can have it. And quite frankly, when you go down such a steep incline with somebody, you can really convince them to do anything. If I can convince John to go down double black extreme, I can convince him to run an ad against himself.
I don't know that he was aware that he was running it against himself. What is your understanding there?
I mean, I love Shane as much as the next guy, but I just think that, John's playing the game. Shane's doing it on his own. John doesn't really want to be commissioner, but he does want to be commissioner. And you just have to convince John that he actually wants to be the commissioner.
Well, as you may well know, the ad spots on our show are not cheap, and he's been consistently running some very high-profile, expensive ads, and the votes have not shown a lot of support despite that. I think the support is almost unanimously in your favor, which may be counter to your goal.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's unanimously for me. I really don't. Massive changes next year. All defense. We're going to play all 11 defensive positions. We're playing.
I think you'd have one vote.
We finally get our ADP. defensive players.
Well, let's take a look at your team this week, Matt. You actually have a pretty comfortable spot in the standings. We were just observing. I think you're 6-3. Looking ahead to next week, we see here you are playing where?
Playing Carson.
Carson. Yeah.
That one.
Here we are. And you're in fifth place, but you're, I think, of a 3-way tie for third, basically.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like I think last week was huge for me. You just score as many points as you need to win, right? That's all you got to do. And I would do have to give you shit for the comment you made last week. I'm not making the playoffs. ESPN has it 90+% right now to make the playoffs, despite my injury-ridden team.
Well, this is what I have to say to that, Matt, is that we know Ducky's going to make the playoffs at this point. He's just, no one can stop him. He beat Kyler last week. He's not currently in the playoffs, but he's headed there. I'm going to make
That's fine. I have the tie break head-to-head on the two below me. So I have one game on Kenny plus tie break, so 2. And whoever has one more loss than me, I beat them head-to-head as well. So I really have a 3-game buffer to missing the playoffs. So I think Jamar Chase is back in 2 weeks, right? He would have went on IR otherwise. So we all seen what this team's capable of when I have Chubb, Cup, and Chase healthy. So I'll be fine.
What do you think about Deshaun Watson coming back? Is he going to help Chubb or hurt Chubb?
I think Deshaun Watson is going to be a net neutral for Nick Chubb.
Because he can be
he has not played football in over a year and a half, pushing 2 years. Nick Chubb will be fine.
He does run, though, and he might be a touchdown vulture.
That's fine. I mean, Nick Chubb's utility comes with 100-yard rushing games. That's his utility. He'll score 13 points a week because he's going to rush for 100 yards a week. And I have Peoples-Jones as my flex moving forward. I don't know if you cover the trades yet or not, but I have Peoples-Jones as my flex.
Yeah, despite that, I think that you probably will handily win this week. Carson did pull something out last week, but it was on the back of Joe Mixon scoring almost 60 points, which is not going to happen again with him on bye. No one else on his team can do that.
Hey, don't count Jared Goff out. Jared Goff's one of only a couple of quarterbacks in the league that has a 500-yard game in his resume.
Not a bad point. But but the thing is, when you factor in that Ducky's going to be in the playoffs, I'm going to be in the playoffs, Matt. That means 2 of those 90%ers are going to be out.
Nate, you're 2 and whatever, right? You're not making the playoffs.
I'm going to win out and win against the tiebreak and some other.
You have to play me. You're not beating me. I've already beat you once. I'll beat you again.
We'll see. It's a bit early to say, I would say. But now, Nick, I'm curious. Actually, well, I think we might as well get into the trade here, Matt, because you were part of it. You sent away Brandon Ayuk to Kenny for Zeke Elliott. Tell us what you were thinking.
It was a pretty easy trade for me. Kenny, I was actually going to come on the show asking, my God, I need a running back. And anyone on my roster failed game except for Chase, Cup, and Nick Chubb to get a running back. I just needed a running back. Did not care who it was. Serviceable. I just need a serviceable running back. Kenny texted me this morning. He's like, hey, you want to trade? I'm like, yes, I do. I need a running back. He's like, good. I need a wide receiver. He said he wants Ayuk. Do I want Singletary or Zeke? And I don't love Zeke, but I mean, I'm sacrificing some wide receiver production for an actual second running back. Right at this point, Damian Harris has lost his job. Just a reminder, Stevenson. Which was going to happen at some point in the season. I think it came a little earlier than I had hoped, just because of his hamstring injury for the Patriots. But David Harris is done for the Patriots at this point. I'm losing some wide receiver 2 production or flex production. I don't think Jamar Chase misses more than 1 game. Otherwise, he would have went on IR, and he didn't. So I think he's out this week with the bye, out next week with his hip injury. He'll be back. Otherwise, the Bengals should have put him on IR, and the Bengals are the kings of IR and understanding kind of how that dynamic works in the NFL. He'll be back after the bye, so just have to survive this week or next week, and then I'll be fine. I think Duvernay's gonna have a big after the bye week, so I'm not too worried about letting Ayuk go with Rashad Bateman being out for the year, and Andrews is still out, so Duvernay can catch the ball, he can run the ball for Baltimore, so I'm not horribly worried about a flex production spot.
Yeah, I saw you very shrewdly picked up Odell. I was actually looking to do that myself, just in case. He could be a starting wide receiver pretty soon.
Yeah, that's a flex play for me. I just need a reliable flex going into the playoffs because I'll have Jamar Chase back. So I needed a second running back, which I got with Zeke. He's good for 8-9 points a week, and then I have Jamar Chase coming back, and then I just need a flex.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall this was one of the more even trades I've ever seen. I mean, you obviously need the running back and don't need the receivers as much, and obviously Kenny needs the receivers a little bit more than he needs the running backs right now. I think it was a pretty even trade overall. I think you might have won kind of like Zeke a little bit better overall, but
yeah, I personally, maybe I differ from everyone else, but I think you won this trade big time, Matt. I think that even if they're projected at similar points, the running back position is more valuable because you could pick guys up on the waiver wire who are like not quite Brandon Ayuk, but kind of close on a weekly basis. And I don't know exactly when Debo's supposed to come back, but I don't think that he's supposed to be out. He might even be supposed to be playing this week.
Debo is playing, and with I think with Ayuk, right, his cap is limited with Elijah Mitchell coming back, right? I understand they have Christian McCaffrey in that backfield, but you just throw another weapon on the field for Jimmy to hit, and Ayuk's third down, not really where he thrives, is third down. That's going to be Elijah Mitchell territory, and Elijah Mitchell is no slub in the backfield. So I think they can run some pretty creative formations with McCaffrey and Mitchell out of the backfield on third down, which takes a lot away from Ayuk.
Yeah. Now, Nick, who do you have as your matchup of the week?
let's see. This week I was looking at the Olive Man against mid-tier Nick. Big swings is how I describe this. Obviously, Ducky's team started off bad. It's won 3 in a row. Nick Adams' team started off pretty good, lost 5 in a row. They're going in the opposite direction at the wrong time of the season. Justin Fields looking better than Tom Brady right now. That's kind of hard to say out loud. He's definitely not as handsome, but that's pretty interesting matchup. I mean, Nick Adams with his red team over there against Ducky with his green and blue team. It seems like a pretty even matchup overall, I would say. Running backs matchup, receivers matchup. Maybe Ducky has a little bit of a lead here. I think he probably will win, like you said, based on how his momentum that he has. But I think this is going to be a pretty fun matchup to watch this week.
Yeah, I mean, when one guy has Tyler Higbee who in their flex, and one guy has Chris Olave in your flex, I think that kind of tells the story. Ducky's team is all of a sudden one of the best in the league. I think mid-tier Nick Christian McCaffrey is a standout, but other than that, I don't feel really confident in anyone he has. I'm thinking this is going to be a blowout, but I am looking forward to Ducky kicking someone out. Who are you picking here, Matt?
I think it's hard to pick against Justin Fields right now. Tom Brady is playing at 9:30 in the morning Eastern, right? So he's going to Germany. I understand Tom Brady's undefeated overseas, but I just don't see Edwards-Helaire and Mecole Hardman producing enough to overcome Fields, Jefferson, and Miles Sanders.
Agreed. I have an interesting matchup. We actually have our first and second place team playing each other, including your wife, Matt, who is in first place right now somehow, despite I think it might be purely to haunt me because I have every single week said this is the week she drops off, and yet that has not happened. What is going on? Can you tell me, Matt?
She drafted really well. And as Nick Adams' team name in his family league is draft bad, feel bad. She drafted good. She should feel good.
I suppose so. I mean, things have just all gone her way. Amari Cooper somehow ended up being super productive this year. Tony Pollard has had his weeks.
I like Tony Pollard though this week. I think is bad. Tony Pollard's big week is when she put up 150, 190 plus points. Right, that Zeke was out. Right, Jerry Jones, who undoubtedly runs that Cowboys franchise, has said Zeke is their number one back. So at worst, it's a 50-50 timeshare for Zeke.
No, that's true.
Pollard's a third down back, might vulture touchdown or two, but you're not going to see 40 plus points out of Tony Pollard again.
Yeah,
and Tyler has a bold move with the double tight end when one of them isn't named Travis Kelce.
Tyler's literally been doing double tight end all year, and it's working for him, so can't say much about it.
Is it though? I don't think Kyle Pitts actually scores. I think he just
He's
somehow.
7-2. I mean, I wouldn't change it.
Does he really have no one else? I guess not. But I
Got
mean,
the
Kyle
Alpha
Pitts
Tower.
is having a very Kyle Pitts game at the moment. 1.5 points through halftime. I think he might end that way if I was to take a guess. I am hitting the button on Kyler's going to win this week. He's going to be the clear number one after this week, and Kyle will, and maybe you, Matt, will be contending for first place later on if injuries go your way. You think you can catch Kyler, Matt?
Yeah, I think that Matt can probably catch Kyler. I think Katie's probably going to win this week. Just based on looking at the teams and now our running backs are a lot better overall.
Yeah, and then just quickly, let's take a look at the free agents this week. I don't think a lot of us had. I mean, you picked up Trevor Lawrence, Nick.
Yeah, you need a quick start at quarterback this week with the Ravens on bye.
We know that Matt took advantage of that drop. He has him right in his lineup. Katie actually spent some money on a kicker, which I guess we shouldn't be surprised that that's where she's going to spend her dough. I managed to grab the Broncos for $3, which I think is a pretty good deal myself. But I like to see Carson getting involved here, bidding on some kickers. We know he likes kickers. But overall, things are really slowed down on the waiver wire.
Yeah, there's not a lot of excitement on the waiver wire the last couple of weeks here.
But there you go. Anything else to add before we let you go today, Matt?
Look forward to all defensive players next year, a punter, and go John.
That's right. Matt for commissioner. You heard it here first.
Go John.
We know you're just being modest, Matt.
No. Really, like when I have you messaging me about statistical errors. ESPN does not make mistakes. I don't do anything. ESPN calculates the scores. There's no stat corrections. There's no errors in total yards allowed by the defense. And yes, your field goal kickers lose points for missing a field goal. It's the way it is.
I thought you did an impeccable job of handling all these controversies, Matt. That's why you have my vote. Matt for commissioner. But thank you for joining us tonight. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
And now, so I hope you all are casting your ballots because, of course, we have a big election like we do every year unofficially. We always have the opportunity to kick out Matt. But before we let you go today, we have another special guest who's not part of the league, but we all know her. It's my lovely wife, Caitlin, here to talk more about Tom and his controversies. Please welcome Caitlin's Hot Takes. What do we have here, Caitlin?
My mom's Christmas gift to you one year, the TB12.
Indeed, the TB12. I'm a proud owner of a copy. And why did you bring this with us?
Whether we think it's worthwhile or not, we want to figure it out.
I see you've already bookmarked it. You clearly have been using it quite a bit.
Yeah. What percent of nightshades do you eat, Nate, a day?
I assume 0% if they're bad for you. What about you, Nick?
I don't know what that is, but probably a lot, I'd say.
Well, you shouldn't be eating them because they cause inflammation and they include tomatoes and eggplants. Watch out.
Okay, I'll stay away from tomatoes and eggplants.
Mm-hmm.
Tomatoes are too spicy for me, so that's not hard.
Tom Brady in this book talks about the horrors of ascorbic acid in food, and then talks about how important vitamin C is, but they are the same thing.
I had not heard that before. Is that something you just found out?
Well, he talks about a bunch of food additives, and on that he lists ascorbic acid as something to watch out for, and potassium chloride. And potassium chloride is just potassium electrolytes, and he sells electrolytes. So there's a lot of confusion here.
I see. Now, do you follow the TB12 diet, Nick?
I do not follow the TB12 diet. The only thing I know much about it is the avocado ice cream, and that Tom Brady's never eaten a strawberry in his life.
I don't know. Did he manage to talk about why strawberries are so bad, Caitlin, or is that just him being?
Inflammation. The answer is always the right answer is always pliability. The wrong answer is always inflammation.
Pliability. Now that's a buzzword.
It is. There's no scientific evidence for it. It's somehow different from flexibility, which is understood. So we don't really know what pliability is. Apparently, you soften and lengthen your muscles with pliability, but apparently, I read somewhere that soft muscles might be a sign of illness. It's all very confusing.
Well, Tom Brady's 45 and he plays football, so he must be doing something right. But we have to let you go, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. Join us next week for another edition of our podcast. And